Now, the big breaking news just moments ago is that R. Kelly has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for his described abuse.
R. Kelly, a name known across the world of music, is currently serving a 30-year sentence and spending his days away from the spotlight. Even while in prison, reports suggest he still wants to share messages with the world beyond those walls, showing that he hasn't let go of his voice or his drive.
Kelly is sending a message from prison demanding people leave his music alone. In an email sent to the Sun-Times, Kelly complains about his health, loss of his career, and his family.
After his sentencing, fans and followers began wondering what his life is like now. Many are curious about what keeps him busy, what inspires him, and how he continues to stay connected to his music career despite being away from the public eye.
I promise you, we're going to straighten all of this stuff out. That's all I can say right now. I promise you.
And your fans?
I love my fans.
Robert Sylvester Kelly's journey began on the south side of Chicago, where he grew up as the third of 4 children. His mother, Joanne, was a hard-working school teacher and a devoted Baptist who raised her kids with love and strength. His father wasn't around much, leaving Joanne to guide the family through the ups and downs of city life. They lived in different areas, including housing projects on 63rd Street and a small home near 40th and Martin Luther King Drive. Even from a young age, it was clear that R. Kelly's path would be filled with challenges, ambition, and music that would define a generation. R. Kelly's family later moved to another small home on 107th and Parnell, a place that would hold deep meaning for him years later. About 25 years after living there, he returned to that very spot to film the music video for his emotional song, I Wish.
I would go to McDonald's before she go to work, before I go to school, and she would get us a Danish. That's all we could afford is a Danish and a cup of coffee.
Kelly often spoke about his early life in his 2012 autobiography, Solar Coaster, The Diary of Me, where he reflected on his upbringing with honesty and vulnerability. He described a busy household filled with family and family friends, cousins, aunties, and neighbors, mostly women who helped raise the children when his mother was at work. His childhood was filled with confusing moments and complicated emotions, especially as he grew older and tried to make sense of the world around him. In his book, he shared that at a young age, he sometimes found himself in uncomfortable or difficult situations that left lasting emotional effects. These early experiences shaped his understanding of trust, relationships, and boundaries, themes that would later appear in his music.
Anything that I've been through, that or any struggles I've had in my past, has affected my music. It has,
Has it affected your behavior?
Absolutely not.
R. Kelly also wrote about a frightening event from his teenage years, where he said he was injured at age 13 during an attempted bike theft. He claimed it was a stray bullet that struck him, but didn't stop him from holding on to his bike. However, people close to his family later told the Chicago Sun-Times that his mother once shared a different version of the story, suggesting that Robert had been struggling emotionally at that time. It's been said that he still carries that bullet in his shoulder to this day.
Our abusers have been abused, but not all people that have been abused go out and abuse others.
Despite the chaos and confusion of his early years, R. Kelly's path continued forward. As a teenager, he attended Hyde Park's Kenwood Academy High School, a place known for its talented students and strong performing arts programs. It was there that his passion for music began to truly grow.
Are going back to my past, okay? That's exactly what they're doing. They're going back to the past, and they're trying to add all of this stuff now to that.
Setting the stage for the career that would later make him a household name. R. Kelly didn't finish high school, and in later interviews, he openly admitted that reading and math were tough for him. But his life completely changed when a legendary Chicago music teacher, Lena McLin, spotted his natural talent. She urged him to perform Stevie Wonder's 1982 classic, Ribbon in the Sky, at a high school talent show.
I know that I can do anything when it comes to music because I'm pretty much like a piano, you know. It has every single note on it, you know, and that's how I look at myself. I know people love me.
And that one performance changed everything. That night, Kelly said he felt like something inside him woke up, describing it as, "It was like Spider-Man getting bit. I discovered this power. I knew I had something." His confidence exploded after that show, and soon his voice was catching the attention of people all across Chicago.
You know, I love the I Believe I Can Fly songs, the world's greatest songs and things like that, humanity songs, you know, and songs for basketball and sports. You know, my music, I feel like it fit all genres.
One of those people was Wayne Williams, a Jive Records executive who first heard R. Kelly sing at a backyard barbecue on the city's South Side. Williams was blown away. Before long, Kelly started performing in subways, sharing his voice with anyone who would listen, turning everyday commutes into pop-up concerts that hinted at the superstar he was becoming. Eventually, he signed with Jive Records just before the label grew into one of the biggest in the world.
No, I'm not married. Robert's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. He's a great producer, great artist who I do admire, and there's nothing there.
Home to major stars like Britney Spears and NSYNC. At that time, the label introduced him as part of a new R&B group called Public Announcement, a move inspired by the popularity of smooth vocal groups like Boys and Me, who ruled the charts back then. R. Kelly's early rise to fame wasn't without major headlines, though. At just 27 years old, reports surfaced linking him to a private marriage ceremony with singer Aaliyah, who was still very young at the time.
Young lady, she's 14, Aaliyah. She's real street. She just, just be chilling, man. And
according to Vibe magazine, official records showed that her age had been listed differently on the marriage documents. When the truth came out, the marriage was quickly annulled in early 1995.
During later legal proceedings, a former tour manager even claimed that paperwork had been mishandled to make the marriage possible. Despite the intense media attention, both Kelly and Aaliyah kept silent about what really happened.
Rumors about you being married and stuff like that. Was there any truth to that?
Man, you are so late.
I know, but you know what it is? It's like, I just had to.
In one rare interview, Aaliyah brushed off the rumors, saying, "We're close," and people took it the wrong way. Court documents later confirmed that the marriage was officially annulled in Detroit in 1994. As part of the legal agreement, both artists signed confidential papers promising never to publicly discuss the relationship or the marriage again.
Two witnesses chose to lie, implicate this man, and drag him through this experience from 2019 until today.
Records from that settlement were sealed by the court, but the Chicago Sun-Times eventually reported that Kelly paid a small settlement of $100, part of an agreement to ensure that no further legal action would be taken by either party related to their personal or professional connection. This chapter in R. Kelly's life became one of the most talked about moments of his career, a turning point that forever tied his personal life to his public image. In 1997, Aaliyah filed a request to have the marriage certificate officially removed from Cook County's court records, a move that marked the end of that controversial chapter for good. Afterward, R. Kelly rarely spoke about Aaliyah in public. In fact, her name doesn't appear in his autobiography, where he explained in a note that certain parts of his life were left out for complicated reasons. Years later, in a 2016 interview with GQ magazine, he called their relationship best friends, but refused to go into personal details. He explained, "I will never have that conversation with anyone out of respect for Aaliyah and her mother and father, who have asked me not to." Kelly did briefly mention Aaliyah's uncle and former manager Barry Hankerson, who played a huge role in helping him break into the music industry. However, in his book, he focused more on unnamed associates who he claimed had tried to exploit his fame or spread untrue stories about him, people he believed wanted to harm his career and reputation. Years later, Aaliyah's mother shared her own emotional view in an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times, suggesting that many of her daughter's struggles began around that time. In 1996, R. Kelly married Andrea Lee, a talented choreographer and dancer from his live shows, known affectionately within his circle as Puppy Dog. The two eventually had 3 children together, 2 daughters born in 1998 and 2000, and a son in 2002. Despite being a family, they were rarely photographed together, leading to endless rumors about what went on behind closed doors. According to reports shared with the Chicago Sun-Times, Andrea followed strict household rules while living with Kelly at his Olympia Fields mansion. Sources claim she was expected to knock before entering any room he was in, This detail, though small, painted a picture of how private and controlled Kelly's personal space could be.
I have no idea that there's two different men, that there's the person, Robert, there's the persona, R. Kelly.
Andrea's family members, including her mother, grandfather, and aunt, later told columnist Mary Mitchell that they were heartbroken, saying they couldn't visit Andrea freely or even talk to her on the phone.
And people have no idea that this man just beat me on the bus. People have no idea of the bruises I'm hiding.
Their comments added even more mystery to the couple's relationship. Then, in December 1996, new headlines broke when Chicago singer Tiffany "Tia" Hawkins filed a $10 million civil lawsuit against Kelly. According to her claims, she met him years earlier when he visited Kenwood Academy to see his old mentor, Lena McClin. While the details of that case were discussed heavily in the media, the full story behind it remained unclear to the public.
The reason why Robert being locked up right now is not really justice for me. It's because we all know Robert didn't do this alone.
This period in R. Kelly's life became one of the most complicated, marked with success, silence, and stories that would follow him for decades. The connection between Tiffany Hawkins and R. Kelly reportedly came to an end in late 1994 when she was 18 years old. According to court filings, Tiffany later went through a period of emotional distress, struggling to cope with the aftermath of their relationship.
I don't know Robert had help. Absolutely. So justice for me is not laughing because this man is like, he's locked up now.
Her legal claims, however, didn't become widely known until years later when the Chicago Sun-Times launched its first major investigation into Kelly's past. In her civil lawsuit, Tiffany accused Kelly of causing her emotional harm and sought $10 million in damages. The case was settled out of court in 1998 for a reported $250,000, far less than the initial amount. At that time, Kelly's spokesperson said the singer was unaware of the specific claims made against him.
Past is relevant with you with underage girls.
Absolutely no, it's not.
Why?
Because for one, I beat my case.
A few years after that, another woman from Los Angeles spoke with the Chicago Sun-Times, saying she met Kelly in 1999 during the filming of his video, If I Could Turn Back the Hands of Time. She shared that she was 17 when they met, but clarified that their relationship didn't begin until after she turned 18 the following year. She claimed that she didn't know Kelly was married and described the situation as full of conflict once the truth came out. The woman added that she eventually realized Kelly might have an issue when it comes to how he handles relationships. Around the same time, Stephanie Sparkle Edwards, a singer who once worked closely with Kelly, shared her own observations with journalist Jim DeRogatis. She claimed that at several of Kelly's shows, younger fans were often seen backstage, suggesting that the environment around the star had become questionable. She recalled hearing assistants say things like, "He likes them young, it's how he keeps control." Then, on November 7, 2000, an anonymous fax arrived at the Chicago Sun-Times. It contained disturbing information, claiming that while Kelly was publicly celebrating his late mother with emotional songs like I Wish, there was a much darker side to his private life. The fax hinted that law enforcement had already been looking into him for some time, and it included new details about the earlier Hawkins case.
About you. These aren't old rumors.
Not true. Whether they're old rumors, new rumors,
why would they
future
say this
rumors,
about you?
Not true.
The message was signed anonymously, but reporters later confirmed it had come from someone close to Kelly's team. Following that tip, editors assigned journalists Jim DeRogatis and Abdon Polish to dig deeper. Their investigation uncovered that the Chicago Police Department had indeed opened an inquiry, but progress was slow due to a lack of cooperative witnesses. Their continued reporting also verified court documents related to the Hawkins lawsuit and uncovered more about Kelly's short-lived marriage to Aaliyah, as well as multiple claims from women who said they were underage when they met him.
Camera on me?
Yes, it's on.
That's stupid. Use your common sense. Don't forget the blogs. Forget how you feel about me.
In December 2000, the Chicago Sun-Times published its first explosive expose about R. Kelly, painting a detailed picture of a superstar whose fame, power, and influence had allegedly been used in deeply concerning ways. This marked the beginning of what would become one of the most high-profile investigations in modern music history. The Chicago Sun-Times investigation took the story to a whole new level with a bold headline that shook the entertainment world. The report claimed that R. Kelly had allegedly used his fame and influence to pursue inappropriate relationships with girls who were much younger than him, a revelation that sent shockwaves through both the music industry and his fan base. Not long after, R. Kelly's situation escalated dramatically when he faced a series of serious legal charges connected to explicit material involving minors.
If convicted of crimes, Kelly could be looking at 15 years in prison and a swift end to one of the highest flying careers in music.
Authorities said the evidence came from a videotape that had been turned over to police by the Chicago Sun-Times. In February, State Attorney Dick Devine held a press conference confirming that experts at the FBI crime lab in Virginia had verified the tape's authenticity, ruling out any possibility of forgery. Devine made a powerful statement to the press, declaring that crimes against minors would not be tolerated and that the case would serve as a strong warning to anyone attempting to exploit their position of power. Hours later, R. Kelly was arrested at his Florida home. During the arrest, officers reportedly found additional images that led to more charges being filed in the state.
FBI forensics experts from Quantico have closely examined the tape. They tell us it's authentic.
These new allegations claim that the images showed inappropriate encounters involving an underage individual.
After spending a short time in custody, R. Kelly was brought back to Chicago, where he entered a not guilty plea and posted bail using stacks of cash, purportedly totaling $750,000. Following his release, Kelly made an unexpected public appearance at a South Side church alongside his pastor and mentor, Reverend James Meeks, a well-known Chicago politician and member of the Rainbow Push Coalition. During the visit, Kelly sang at a local kindergarten graduation, which observers later pointed out may have violated a court order restricting his interactions with minors outside his immediate family. Years later, after countless headlines, documentaries, and testimonies, R. Kelly's long legal battle finally reached its conclusion. The R&B artist was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison after being found guilty of using his celebrity status to manipulate and exploit young fans.
35 minutes of disgustingness. The girl looked no more than 14 years old. The image that I saw was a man that looked, legally speaking, I got to be careful, looked like R. Kelly.
U.S. District Judge Ann Donnelly delivered the sentence following several days of emotional testimony from survivors who described the deep emotional scars they carried as a result of Kelly's behavior. One woman stood in court and said directly to him, "You made me do things that broke my spirit. I wished I could disappear because of how low you made me feel." Witnesses said Kelly sat silently with his head down, showing little reaction as the courtroom listened in heavy silence. The Brooklyn federal jury ultimately found R. Kelly guilty, concluding that he had relied on a network of employees and associates to help recruit and control young women, a structure that prosecutors described as a criminal enterprise.
Singer R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years behind bars after his conviction on racketeering and charges.
With the verdict delivered and the sentence finalized, the man once hailed as the king of R&B now faces decades behind bars, a shocking downfall for one of music's most successful and controversial figures. While serving his sentence, R. Kelly was placed on suicide watch at the federal detention facility in Brooklyn, a decision that immediately drew controversy. His legal team pushed back hard, calling the move unnecessary and unfair treatment, especially since they claimed Kelly had shown no signs of wanting to harm himself.
Wrongly put on suicide watch following Wednesday's sentencing. The R&B singer claims officials at the Metropolitan Detention Center knew he was not suicidal.
The U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn, however, argued otherwise in court filings, explaining that the decision was made purely out of concern for Kelly's safety. Assistant U.S. Attorney Melanie Speyer stated that the psychological assessment conducted on Kelly suggested extra precautions were appropriate. She acknowledged that his circumstances could understandably cause emotional strain, saying he is a convicted individual facing 3 decades in prison and additional legal proceedings still await him.
Is suing the Brooklyn jail where he was being held since his racketeering and crimes conviction. Kelly says he was wrongly put on suicide watch following Wednesday's sentencing.
Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, didn't hold back in her response. She filed a lawsuit accusing prison officials of using suicide watch as a form of punishment, arguing that it was applied simply because of Kelly's high-profile status rather than any actual risk. Bonjean emphasized that her client had never expressed thoughts of self-harm and called the measure a violation of his basic rights.
Beyond his legal troubles, Kelly's music career has taken a dramatic fall from grace. While in prison, an unexpected twist added to the chaos. A mysterious album titled I Admit It suddenly appeared on Spotify and Apple Music, shocking fans and industry insiders alike. The project contained 13 tracks and credited Sony Music's Legacy Recordings division, leading many to believe it was an official release. But the confusion didn't last long. Representatives from Sony quickly confirmed that the album was not authorized and was in fact a bootleg uploaded without permission. A spokesperson for Spotify told Variety, "This content has been removed from the platform at the request of the distributor." Kelly's attorney also addressed the incident, insisting that neither Kelly nor his legal team had anything to do with the album's appearance. She claimed that someone had stolen his unreleased material and was profiting from his name, adding that the situation highlighted the ongoing battle over his intellectual property. The bizarre reemergence of I Admit It only deepened the mystery surrounding R. Kelly's legacy, showing how even behind bars, his music and reputation continue to stir up controversy and conversation across the entertainment world. After the release of Lifetime's 2019 documentary Surviving R. Kelly, the fallout for the R&B singer was massive.
R. Kelly's one-time manager will spend a year in federal prison for calling in a threat at a theater that was screening a documentary about the disgraced R&B singer.
The series reignited global outrage, shining a spotlight on years of accusations and testimonies that had long surrounded him. In response to the public backlash, Sony Music officially dropped R. Kelly from his label, marking a major turning point in his career and signaling the end of his relationship with one of the world's biggest record companies.
But the controversy didn't stop there. R. Kelly's former manager, Donnell Russell, also found himself in serious legal trouble. In 2022, he was sentenced to a year in federal prison after being found guilty of making a false shooting threat to stop a screening of Surviving R. Kelly back in December 2018. Prosecutors said that Russell had called a Manhattan theater and falsely claimed someone at the event was armed, a hoax that forced the evacuation of the venue and canceled the documentary's premiere. According to court documents, several women who had planned to speak on a discussion panel following the screening had to be escorted out by security. During sentencing, U.S. District Judge Paul Gardefee said Russell's actions were a misguided attempt to protect someone who had hurt many people. Russell admitted his poor judgment in court, saying, "I made a bad decision, but I'm not a horrible person." Russell had also been linked to other efforts to protect R. Kelly's reputation, including attempts to silence or intimidate people speaking out against the singer. His conviction further cemented how deeply some members of Kelly's inner circle were involved in his downfall. The public reaction to Surviving R. Kelly was powerful and emotional. Many viewers shared their thoughts online, expressing both shock and heartbreak over what they learned from the documentary. One viewer wrote, "I watched it without knowing what to expect, and I've never been more disturbed. I couldn't believe how intense it was." Another added, "It's so frustrating how long it took for people to finally take this seriously. So much pain could have been avoided if more had been done earlier." The documentary didn't just expose troubling details, it changed how the world viewed R. Kelly, shifting him from a celebrated hitmaker to one of the most divisive figures in modern music history. The ripple effects were felt everywhere, in the music industry, in the courts, and among fans still trying to reconcile the artist with the allegations that destroyed his legacy. It's heartbreaking to think about everything that's unfolded, but as many have said, it's important to face the truth and have open conversations about it. Despite everything that's happened, R. Kelly still has people who stand by him. One of his most well-known supporters, his former fiancée, Joycelyn, even released a book defending him and rejecting the accusations that have surrounded his name for years. However, the reality remains, R. Kelly is still behind bars, and his life is completely changed since his incarceration. The fame, fortune, and influence that once defined his career have all faded, leaving behind a story that continues to spark debate, emotion, and reflection around the world.